Hey everyone, we've got quite a bit to talk about in today's update. Some active weather on the way, including a long cold front that's going to be bringing some significant changes. So let's dive right into it. We've got a cold front moving down from the north, and ahead of it, we're going to see a major warm up. You're going to notice those temperature swings really starting to show up over the next couple of days. If we take a look at how these temperatures are going to change, it's clear that we're in for a real roller coaster. Tomorrow, we're going to see a collision between two distinct air masses. Cold air is coming down from the north and warm tropical air from the Caribbean is surging northward. And right between near areas like Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, and parts of western Texas, that's where we're going to see some potentially severe weather develop. The difference in temperature between these air masses creates a zone of instability. And that's exactly what you need for thunderstorms to form. When we see this collision of warm, moist air from the south with the colder, denser air from the north, that sets up a perfect environment for strong storms. Severe thunderstorms could definitely be a risk in that zone, and we'll need to keep a close eye on it as the front moves through. That's going to be the big concern over the next 24 hours, so I'll be watching this closely and keeping you updated. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Now, as we work our way into the weekend, things are going to evolve. By Saturday morning, that cold front will be stretched all the way down toward the southern United States. Behind it, we'll see cooler, drier air filtering in, but this particular front isn't going to make it too far south. So while the front will bring cooler air to the north, we're not expecting a repeat of the southern snowstorm we saw a little while ago. This time, the cold front is going to slide through and lift away fairly quickly. As we move into next week, we're in for another warming trend. If you've been feeling that mild weather over the past few days, you're going to notice that it continues. And next week, things are going to warm up even more. The overall trend has been for temperatures to gradually rise. And that trend is going to intensify as we move into next week. It's going to feel like a big warm up is on the way, but with it comes the potential for more active weather. Along with the warm air, we're going to have to be on the lookout for some severe storms, especially where warm. Tropical moisture feeds into the system and meets that cooler, denser air. So we're going to need to stay alert for the possibility of not just snow and ice in some areas, but also severe weather with thunderstorms and possibly some heavy rain in other parts of the country. There's also a small pocket of snow that I'm keeping an eye on, and I'll zoom in on that in just a second. Before we get there, though, let's take a look at that moisture feeding in from the south. You can see it stretching all the way up from Mexico into Texas. This moisture is going to be the key to the next system that we're going to be tracking over the next few days. At the same time, out west in parts of the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia, things are really starting to ramp up. This will be a very active weather pattern for the next few weeks. Some bigger storm systems are starting to develop, and by next month, we're going to see even more systems rolling in, keeping us on our toes for significant weather events. This means that we'll be watching the situation closely as more moisture from the Pacific begins to push in. Overnight, we've already seen some rain and snow in parts of the Northeast, and I've been monitoring the snow falling in New England. There's a small system that's kind of sneaking in, bringing some snow into parts of Quebec, Ontario, and the Great Lakes. Meanwhile, moisture is building in Texas, especially from Brownsville up through Houston, all coming in from Mexico. This will feed into the system that's developing and work its way north. So we're looking at an active period of weather over the next few days. As we look to the west, we're not seeing much just yet. Just a few scattered showers in parts of California and Arizona. But this is just the beginning. The bigger systems that are coming in will begin to slide into the western United States. And that's going to be a big factor in the weather patterns as we move into next month. So let's take a closer look at the Caribbean. This morning, we're seeing some scattered showers here and there. Panama is seeing some cloud cover lifting northward. And in the northeastern Caribbean, places like Suriname and Guyana are getting a few passing showers. So we'll also see some light rain across parts of Trinidad and Jamaica. Meanwhile, there's a weak front that's trying to push by Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the British Virgin Islands, but it's not a strong front. It's more of a glancing blow, and it's not going to have much of an impact, though a few showers could pop up in places like Anguilla and Antigua and Barbuda. Looking ahead, we're going to see this next system continue to develop into a very long front. The energy behind it is starting to gather strength, and I'm always watching what's coming next so we can stay ahead of any potential weather development. Ahead of this front, we continue to have that warm southerly flow, helping to maintain the mild temperatures. In the meantime, there's a smaller system that's pushing off from Canada's Atlantic region. I'll zoom in on that shortly so we can see how it's moving. Tomorrow, you'll see the weather really start to build. The colder air will be firmly in place to the north, and the warm tropical air will continue to surge northward. That's when we'll really start to see the collision of these two air masses. And that's the zone where we'll need to be especially cautious for the development of severe thunderstorm. The systems that are coming in from the west will be getting closer to British Columbia, and California will start to feel the impact as well. As we move into next week, we'll be watching that system more closely and also tracking any developments from the Pacific, as these storms could have a significant impact on the weather across the United States and potentially into the Caribbean. By Friday, that long cold front will be draped all the way down through the Gulf of Mexico, reaching all the way down to the Yucatan Peninsula. Some colder air will start to push in on the northern side of the front, and I'll zoom in on the snow potential shortly. Meanwhile, moisture will continue to build in from Mexico into Texas, feeding into the system. By Saturday, the front will move across Bermuda, but it won't dive too far south, so we'll continue to experience warm weather in the Caribbean. At the same time, we'll continue to see those larger systems pushing in from the Pacific, keeping things active out west. Next week, we'll see even more potential for snow and ice in parts of the north, as well as the possibility of more severe weather, especially in the southern and central parts of the country. For those in the Caribbean, we'll continue to see some scattered showers over the next few days. There's a weak front in the region, but it's not going to have a major impact. Instead, we're looking at a fairly mild pattern, though there will be some brief showers here and there, especially in parts of Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and the Dominican Republic. Looking ahead to the 8 to 14-day outlook, February 6th through 12th, we see that while the warmth persists in the Four Corners, South Central, and East Coast, the cold air is slowly beginning to push eastward. Models are trending colder for this particular time frame, especially in the Southwest, which is expected to cool down a little. This period could set the stage for more potential snowfall, particularly across the plains, Midwest, and lower Midwest. Precipitation patterns during this phase are quite similar to the 6 to 10-day outlook, with the West, Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast all seeing above average precipitation. Now, if we zoom out and take a look at the past 30 days, we can see that the cold has been pretty intense, especially for much of the country. For around 90% of the U.S., temperatures have been 5 to 10 degrees below normal on average, with some areas in the Rockies, Plains, and Southeast seeing much colder than usual conditions. This is considered extreme for a 30-day period, as typical monthly temperature departures are usually between 1 and 3 degrees from the norm. To see temperatures that far below normal is quite rare and a good indicator that we're in a more extreme cold pattern. When we move into the European models forecast, we're seeing the first wave of thunderstorms start to develop across Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and Louisiana. I've been talking about this system for a while, and it's starting to shape up as expected. Right now, the jet stream is still keeping things on the cool side in the east, but it will warm up soon enough. The Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast are still quite cool, but snow showers are expected to continue in these areas. Fast forward to Thursday, January 30th, and we'll see thunderstorms and severe weather, primarily Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Louisiana, especially around the low pressure system that's moving northward. This is where we'll see the best chance for thunderstorms and severe weather, with a warm front pushing up into the east and bringing some moisture with it. As the system shifts to the northeast on Friday, we could see some mixed precipitation for the Northeast and Great Lakes, with more snow showers possible for the Mid-Atlantic. By the weekend, as we hit February 1st, colder air will settle in across the northern states, bringing snow to the Rockies and Cascades, with some potential for snow showers in the upper Midwest and northern plains as well. So the west will stay active through Saturday, and by Sunday, February 2nd, we'll see heavy precipitation moving across the northwest, while the Great Lakes will see more snow and rain from a weak low pressure system. By Monday, February 3rd, that low pressure system in the northeast could strengthen, bringing heavier snow to New England and some rainfall to the northern Rockies and Cascades. On Tuesday, February 4th, the system will shift southward, with thunderstorm activity expected in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana, and snow continuing in the west. This low pressure system will then move northward as the week progresses, bringing snow and rain to parts of the Midwest and upper Midwest. By Thursday, February 6th, we could see a major storm developing in the Midwest, with snow affecting the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast. This storm could lead to a heavier snow event in these areas, particularly in the Great Lakes and Northeast. Well, storm track holds, we might also see some snowfall extending into the plains. Moving into Friday, February 7th, we're looking at a massive low pressure system forming over eastern Canada, which could bring a heavy snowfall event to the Northeast and Great Lakes. The West is also expected to continue its snowy trend, with significant snowfall accumulating in the major mountain ranges. By Saturday, February 8th, we'll see another low pressure system moving in from the west, bringing snow to the Rockies and the northern plains. Thunderstorms are likely to develop in the Gulf and parts of the Midwest, and snow will continue to affect the northern and western regions of the country. Now, if we look at the total precipitation forecast from the European model, we see a lot of moisture moving into the west, especially the northwest, and then pushing into the central U.S. as well. This is going to create some pretty substantial storm tracks across the country over the next 2 weeks. In terms of snowfall, the European model is forecasting heavy snow in the west, particularly in the major mountain ranges like the Rockies, Sierra Nevada, and Cascades. The northern states are also looking at significant snowfall, with some areas in the upper Midwest and Great Lakes potentially seeing 1 to 2 feet of snow. Meanwhile, the GFS model is showing similar snowfall patterns for the West, but is predicting slightly less snowfall in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast compared to the European model. Looking at temperatures, we're expecting a mix of warmth and cold, with some cold air moving in from the north. The West will stay cool, but the central U.S. will warm up as we approach the weekend. By Thursday, February 6th, we'll see a backdoor cold front moving in, which could bring some chilly air to the East Coast. But after that, we'll warm back up in the East, especially by the 9th and 10th of February, before we cool down again. To sum it up, the upcoming weather pattern is looking very dynamic, with significant cold and warm spells interspersed with plenty of storms and snowfall. If you're a fan of snow, there will definitely be opportunities ahead, especially in the upper Midwest, Northeast, and West. For those of you who prefer warmer conditions, there will be some nice stretches as well, but overall, it's going to be a back and forth pattern throughout February. That's all for today's forecast. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you can get daily updates as we track this dynamic weather pattern. Drop a comment below if you have any questions or thoughts on the forecast. And if you like the video, don't forget to hit that like button. I'll see you in the next one.